He's Jeff King. I'm Andy Erickson. This is not another shooting show. We go to Los Angeles, California, where a man suffering from a gunshot wound in the Westchester area, he was taken to the hospital Sunday night. Apparently, the man was sitting inside a car with a woman, accidentally shot himself, and unsuccessfully tried to hide the weapon, according to OnScene.tv. However, the cause of the shooting was not confirmed by police. Apparently, at 8:45 p.m. Sunday, they responded to the shooting near Thornburg and Kitty Hawk Avenue, just north of the San Diego 405 freeway, according to the LAPD. They found the victim conscious and breathing. He was transported to a local hospital, condition not immediately available. What are the odds he was taking a selfie? I'm going to go with not, just because there was someone in the car with him. I think he was just trying to impress whoever was in the car.
Either that or they were trying to get a little more frisky and he was trying to remove his gun so it was not in the way.
Could have been. Could have been.
How much of a mood killer would that be?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you maintain an erection after you've shot yourself in the leg?
I mean, I guess the blood's going somewhere else.
Yeah. Dude, I saw a really funny meme. It was something like, men have a superpower. They can control the flow of blood with their mind. I just saw that like an hour ago.
I would prefer other superpowers, but
yes.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the paywall for this Patreon episode. Thank you, patrons. Patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. Just $3.57 a month. You're going to get all of this episode, but you're going to get a little longer free portion because we're talking USPSA drama. Now, here's the thing I love about this, Jeff. I'm so glad that the USPSA drama is primarily about the game.
Yeah.
I mean, at its root, this controversy is about the game. There are some personality conflicts involved, to be sure, but at its root, this is a problem in the game, and it's why people are passionate. And it's actually about the game. So that actually kind of makes me smile. Like when I realized, hey, there's USPSA drama again, but it's really just about the game. Yep. So here's basically the thing. Appendix carrying for shooting the match, or shooting from Appendix. There was a guy at CO Nats. I've interacted with him a bit on Instagram, messaging back and forth. Buck Lawler's his name. He got DQ'd at CO Nats back in June. And I don't remember exactly. I would have to go back and look. During his make ready, he was moving. He's a right-handed shooter, shooting from Appendix, and he had taken like a step to his left, like 45-degree angle or so. And then when he went back to reholster the gun is when the RO called the DQ. Yep. And I've heard from other sources that it was not so much this rule. It was that on the reholster, the gun was pretty much pointed at the scoring RO. That I'm just reporting what was said to me, okay? I'm not getting into the weeds. I'm not trying to win the argument for anybody here. What I care about when it comes to all of this is, what does the rule say?
Right.
Jeff, do you see the rule there?
Yes.
Okay.
10.5.16.
Read the rule for us, if you would.
Drawing a handgun while facing or moving uprange, and the front of the holster is pointing uprange beyond 90 degrees from the median intercept of the backstop.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there in one compound sentence. So, drawing a handgun. So, in order for it to be a DQ, like, this is one of the conditions where a match disqualification happens. First thing that has to happen under this rule is you have to be in the act of drawing. So, pulling the gun out of the holster. That's item number one. Item number 2A or B is facing or moving uprange. So you have to either be facing uprange or moving uprange. Okay? So we've got two things so far. We have to be drawing a handgun, and we have to be moving or facing uprange. Item number 3 is the front of the holster. This is the thing most people are getting spun up about, and to me, it's not even the biggest problem with the rule. But the front of the holster is defined elsewhere, somewhere in the rule book, as basically the top where the iron sights would be, the side of the holster where sights would be is the quote-unquote front of the holster. Okay. And it's defined that way if you had a conventional belt rig and your holster was pointing generally forward at your hip. Okay. So the front of that holster is pointed uprange beyond 90 degrees from the median intercept of the backstop. The easy way of thinking of that part is breaking 180. So the front of the holster is breaking 180. You're drawing, and you have to be facing or moving uprange. Now, the big word in all this is the and. Drawing a handgun while facing or moving uprange, and the front of the holster is blah, blah, blah. So 3 things all have to be true for a DQ to be called. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Most of the time when this is getting called, though, these 3 things are not true. The Ben Steger part of why this is exploded is 2 reasons. One, there was a rules committee meeting, and this was apparently the most contentious topic for the rules committee meeting. And then in the aftermath of that, how it happened, I don't know. Steger hears about it, starts posting about it, and it blows up. Whether he heard about it from there or elsewhere, I don't know the timeline or any of that. But anyway, it's these 2 things happening now. Everybody's talking about it, and it's a big thing. So, like I mentioned a little earlier, most people are spun up about front of the holster, which if you're using an appendix holster, you would think the side of the holster. Like if you're a right-handed shooter, what would be the right side of your hand, or the part that's pointed in the same direction as your penis, okay?
Okay.
Is what most people would think the front of the holster is. And I certainly never thought about it any other way until this all started happening. Okay. But the rule does say the front of the holster is the thing that, if you're right-handed, is pointing left when you're pointing your body straight ahead. So at least that is actually in the rule book, okay? It's weird. It's kind of dumb. But okay, it's there. Now, I think, before I go even deeper, because there's other problems with this rule, and they go even deeper than just this rule. The fact that people are getting DQ'd on this rule from shooting from Appendix is really kind of dumb this is one reason why. When you draw from Appendix, and I was practicing draws from Appendix tonight before we recorded, just so I could have this in my head, like what's actually happening with the gun when people draw from Appendix. Okay. So I think you'd probably agree, if you just think about your Appendix draw, is as soon as it clears the holster, the next direction, like the tube that the bullet goes down, like, just think barrel. Don't think top of gun or left of gun or front of holster, any of that shit. Think about the tube the bullet flies out of.
Yep.
What direction does that go?
It points down and goes forward.
It clears holster and then goes forward. And your elbow and shoulder kind of moving away to rotate the gun forward. Okay? Just because the sights were pointed off to the side is fucking irrelevant. Okay?
Right.
And it's so dumb because it's so dumb to think that is somehow unsafe in a DQ when I can run at full speed with the gun in that exact same orientation, but it wasn't adjacent to a draw.
Right.
If I'm running up range and I have the gun pointed in that exact way where the barrel is pointed down and off to the right as I'm retreating straight up range, that's not a DQ. I'm not getting DQ'd for that. Okay? But if I draw a gun, the gun comes straight up, and then I push that tube forward towards the target, is anything is anything actually unsafe happening?
No.
I don't think so either. And then on top of that, just breaking 180, that's 10.5.2. What about this rule is not covered by the regular 180 rule? Okay.
Right.
I'm not really sure. I don't know what this is fixing, what problem this is. But it's like it's a solution that was looking for a problem and it just created problems because it's not really fixing anything.
Well, and like that's one reason I personally believe that all rules should have the story of why they're there written next to it. And, and that way we could be like, oh, this is the exact reason why this rule exists. Because like in my OSHA class, my OSHA instructor was like, every regulation and every rule has blood next to it. Yeah. And so you should have to write the story like, why do we lock out tag out? Well, this dude got killed in a blender. And you're like, oh yeah, we need to lock out tag out 100%. Yeah. So I totally agree that this rule is it's odd because you're right. It would be a really weird appendix draw. I mean, I can see it where someone like draws gun and immediately kind of like shifts it.
And the gun goes sideways.
Right.
Like they just come up and the gun goes straight sideways.
Right. But like you said, you have broken 180. So,
right.
Right. And so that's definitely a part of it is it's like, this rule I don't feel is needed. And so I'm kind of going based off the video that I think everyone was commenting off of.
And it's probably the cover photo of this episode.
Yeah. So I have two distinct problems with this. One, a DQ needs to be an unsafe act that could possibly injure somebody. Watching that video, I did not see that. Like as an RO, I'm like, okay, like I don't know, I don't see it, but I'm not standing next to it, so maybe there's something. But the other piece to it is it felt watching it that the RO trapped him because
he's just waiting for it, yeah,
right, and this is one place I disagree with the rule book because like if a simple example is ROs are not supposed to tell shooters if their gun if they racked around in. Like if you notice it, like you're not supposed to tell someone. That's a rule, at least within Steel Challenge. It can be considered coaching, but like I don't if I'm like, hey dude, like your bolt is open, you should probably like drop the bolt. Like I'm not there to trap somebody. I'm like, hey, I want you to complete the stage in a safe manner, the best way possible. And so I felt like if I was Yarrow in that situation, I've been like, homie, I need you to like square your shit up because you're gonna get fucked. Like, and so I am annoyed with how that RO handled it, but within the rule structure, I understand where he's kind of coming from, but it's a very weird rule.
There's some other problems with this rule that go deeper than the rule. Sometimes in rules, there are words that are defined elsewhere in the rule book. There are two terms in this rule that are defined elsewhere in the rule book that also cause problems. The term backstop is defined in the USPSA rule book. What would you think the backstop is?
The big ass thing of dirt or whatever's the back of the like that's catching all the bullets downrange.
So the back berm?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's that, but in the rule book, it's defined as a raised structure of sand, soil, or other materials used to contain bullets. That's it.
Right.
Not side berm. It just says any pile of dirt for catching bullets is a backstop. Okay. Well, the rule says that it's beyond 90 degrees from the median intercept of the backstop. Is that the one that is downrange? Is it the one on the side? Is it the one on the right side or the left side? Like, which backstop are we talking about? I'm being a little annoying. I understand that. I'm being a range lawyer, but words matter. Okay? If we're going to have definitions, then they need to be correct definitions, not general definitions that fuck up rules. Okay? Facing up range is defined in the rule book. It is defined as face and feet pointing directly 180 degrees away from the backstop with shoulders and hips square to the backstop, which should be the back berm.
Right.
So you're only facing up range if you are directly, like if the bay, if we're shooting north in this bay, you'd have to be pointing directly south to be facing up range. Otherwise, if you're pointing southeast, you're not facing up range.
Okay.
As defined in the rule book. Like, I'm not saying these things should be okay. I'm saying these are the problems with how this is written. So there's a lot of shit like this in this rule book, and this is just the one that, we allowed appendix carry. Cool. We found a rule that, and some definitions in the glossary that are fucking it up. And now the board and rules committee are fighting over it. And the fact that there are people who are fighting over, what's wrong with the words? Because we have a way we're doing it. That's the way we want it to be. Well, okay. Even if we enforce it the way it's being enforced, if that's what we want, I honestly, as long as that's how the rule's written, I'm okay with that. But when people read the rule and they're like, how in the fuck could you make that call?
Right.
That's the problem. Okay.
And this is why change is so complicated, because you think, oh yeah, we added appendix. Mm-hmm. End of statement. Nothing more needs to be said. And you're like, ooh, no. There's an entire infrastructure you must build around this for it to make sense.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of terms in the glossary of the rule book that are missing, or their definitions screw up rules. And, when I was getting into the minutia of backstop and facing up range, I'm not saying these things are, wrong. They just need to be written correctly. So,
right. It probably needs to be a full paragraph, because you also can't just say the back berm, because if you're shooting at an indoor range that does not have berms, then this rule does not apply. So there might need to be an entire glossary for indoor matches, or for like the European style matches where they have the bullet traps on basically every target. Like, that's its own fucking...
Yeah.
So this is the difficulty of writing a rule book. Anyone who's like, a rule book should be like one piece of paper. You're like,
yeah,
no, the world is complicated. People are complicated. I always love to quote the hilarious rule that they had to say that the stands of walls are not part of the shooting area because some fuckwit decided to stand on them so that he could shoot in front of it. And you're like, we didn't need to write that down.
Yeah.
Like, everyone knew what that meant until someone went, all right, tell me it doesn't say that. And you're like, God damn it, now we have to write this down. So
I think the solution for this, honestly, and I think this will make the appendix peeps happy, we delete 10.5.16. We just delete it. Because the problems this is trying to fix, I don't think actually exist. And as long as we have 10.5.2, the regular 180 rule, and then there's also, let me find it here. I just saw it. Shit, where did it go? Damn it. Drawing a handgun while, basically it's, if the muzzle point, here it is. While facing down range, allowing the muzzle of a loaded firearm to point up range beyond a radius of 3 feet from the competitor's feet while drawing or reholstering. I think between 10.5.2 and 10.5.6, the 3 foot radius, I think we got it covered.
Yeah.
If you can draw from appendix and not go outside that 3 foot circle, what's the problem?
Right.
And if the response to that is, well, most people do go outside that 3 foot circle. Okay, but I don't. It's never more than 3 feet up range, or, breaking the 180.
Right.
And to what you said, like, DQs need to be unsafe acts, not traps. There are some things where they're not actually unsafe. Like, a friend of mine has a problem with getting DQ'd, moving to his weak side and reloading because he he forgets to not point the gun, to his weak side as he's moving to his weak side.
Right.
But every time that's happened, he wasn't actually pointing the gun at anybody. It was still in a safe direction. It was just breaking the 180.
Right.
But I still think that needs to be a rule.
It does, and like, because I had the same argument with a guy because at my range we have like a 30, 40 yard bay. It's the one you worked at Cornhusker. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, if you're, 30 yards down this bay, the 180 doesn't really make as much sense as a safety rule. And I was like, I get it, because, you can break up to like 195 and you're still shooting at berm.
Yeah.
But it's to stop you before you get to 196.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's, while what I definitely mean is the idea, I get DQ rules are there to prevent the accident before the accident happens. I 100% get that. But like making sure that it is a definite thing that can cause harm. Whereas again, watching that dude draw to the first target, I was like, I don't see anyone in danger. Like,
no,
I wasn't the RO. I wasn't there. And I was happy that the first response to this video that I saw was, if you have a problem with this, go take the RO class. Be the change you want to see and understand why the RO called it that way. Like, I think that's good advice. Like, we need, for institutional knowledge to change, the institution needs to change.
Well,
and that only happens with new people coming into the sport.
To a point, part of the problem is the echo chamber of NROI and the range masters and range master instructors is well, this is what we think it should be, so that's how it should be. I just point you in the direction of the Flux Raider when it comes to how that ruling, like no RMs and RMIs and Troy didn't want that to be allowed, but your rule book says it's allowed. Like, that's what the words say. And thank God the board just said, no, it's allowed. That's what your rule book says. So It's allowed. Done.
Yeah, and it's a high level institutional knowledge that can get trapped, essentially. And they kind of perpetuate that information.
Yeah, here's
system.
how we've said it's done, so that's how it's done, even when that's not how it's written. And that's the problem. So, anyway.
Yeah.
It's we'll see. I just sounded like a horse then. That was weird. I didn't mean to do that. We'll see how this all shakes out. It's been interesting. We have, along with that, I don't know if you said this or not, but you wrote it down for this part of the conversation. The RO class 100% should be online, or a version of it should be online. I think I believe this in my heart, that we do not need a range master instructor who has gone through, good God, it's like the equivalent of a 2-year college degree. To become a range master is close to that, and a range master instructor, it's a whole bunch of shit. And I've been teaching stuff for a long time, and I get the rules, like the rules that new ROs need to know as new ROs. I don't think it requires someone who's been anointed on high to teach this, okay?
Correct.
All we need is a good CRO to run the range part of that class. Take the online part from a range master instructor or DNROI, whatever. Do your best to make it not sleep-inducing. And then have CROs who know their shit, they've worked matches in other places, do the field training portion of a class.
Yeah, have them sign off somehow that, like, yep, I verify that this dude knows what he's doing. And part of me believes that, to your point about the depth of information, is that the average quote-unquote RO doesn't need to know every single rule ever.
You can't know them all.
Right. And so it's like, because people take the RO test and it's fucking annoying because you have 25 to 50 questions, and then you have to.
It's annoying, but I'll say this though. To me, taking a test where you have to look stuff up is like one of the best ways to learn things.
Right. I think it'd be better if the multiple choice portion of it was like 3 different sections, and then you have to go look and read what those sections say and then click the one that's the best one. Because when I did try to take the RO test, I remember getting one wrong because I put 10.1.5.
Oh, that's annoying.
And I didn't put 10.1.5.2, and I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn it! Like I was on the right path. At least give me something. And so making sure that people like figure out, okay, you need to know these safety rules, these scoring rules, and this, and be like, okay, you're an RO that can RO people at your locals and maybe major matches, but maybe you have another level for the CRO is where you start understanding like the deep intricacies of it.
Yeah, like the CRO class, I think that should still be an in-person class because I didn't really learn much from the RO class. I learned it, and you and I were in the same RO class. Like,
yep.
I basically heard about stuff I heard about. I probably picked up a couple of things, but it wasn't like, oh, wow, I really know what I'm doing now. I mean, I'd already been running a timer. Like, that's where you learn it, is running a timer.
Right. Under the supervision of a more experienced shooter.
Yeah.
Like,
a
range master. And for those who are listening, if you are an RO or a CRO, and there's a guy that comes to your matches a lot, hand him a timer.
Just make him,
Because I was given the timer by a range master, and he goes, "Here you go. I'll correct you if you get anything wrong.
Yeah,
run these people," and it gets you over that hurdle.
And if you're one of the new people who hasn't run a timer, you're going to make mistakes. We all have. I've been a CRO for 3 years, and I made a big boner of a call last year at Cornhusker. You know, it got fixed, fortunately, but I made a really dumb call, and it happens. You're going to fuck up. Well, and
never be afraid to ask questions. I still, if I'm like, ooh, that's a close one. Hey, someone else who's experienced, get over here and let's have a second pair of eyes on this. I'm calling it this. What do you call it? And if they're like, yep, I agree with you, cool.
Yeah.
Or if they're like, I disagree. Okay, if we disagree, let's get a third person. We triangulate it. Boom. Whatever two out of 3 say it is the call. I have no problem sacrificing my ego to get the right call.
Yeah, and here's the thing: the best ROs don't have an ego about it at all. Like, if your ego is wrapped up in being a range official or an official for any sport, you shouldn't do that. Okay, patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. Just $3.57 a month, and you're going to get to hear the backstory behind the cover photo of the last episode 80, the one that came out on Wednesday. I have a little bit of a tidbit I'm going to tell you about that cover, because when we recorded that episode, I didn't know what the cover was going to be, but now I know what it is and was, and I have a fun little story about that cover. Patreon.com/notanothershootingshow. You will hear about that, and you will get the rest of this episode and every Friday episode every single week.